Hi everybody, it's Joni here at Joni's Journals, and we are back again today, and we are going to be working on covering our envelope for the signature. And let me just pull that one out. This is the signature that we began decorating the other day, yesterday in fact, in the second part of the video for the Compendium Revamp. The first part was when we made the tags. The second part was when I showed you all of the signatures and we decorated one of them. And I said that I would be back to teach you how to make, I should have grabbed this out, one of these little torn edges here. You can see that we have the little edge here that kind of flips up, okay? It's to represent like a composition book when you tear out a piece of paper and you get that little torn area. This one I left straight, and this one, come on, I kind of cut on little uneven angles. You can see that they're all different little sizes here. And this one I created a tuck with. I kind of opted not to make a tuck on the signature that this one's going to go on, although there is still a possibility that we could do that. I wanted to lay this down here, but we added this piece of ephemera, so I don't really want to cover that up. So I think we're just going to leave it as a torn edge on the piece, on the cover here. And I have pulled out this little piece of ephemera. You may recognize this from the Christmas trifold. Yeah, my words are escaping me. The little Christmas trifold journal that we made, and also from the 12 Days of Christmas journal. If I remember, I will link those videos in the description box below. You can go over and watch them. But I'm going to show you how to make this cute little torn edge. And I do have to let you know right up front, this is not my invention. This came from watching a video by Tony at Crafty by Tony. She came up with this cute little idea, and she shows you how to do it. She does it with both a circular hole punch and a square hole punch. And I opted to make mine with the square hole punch. Now you're going to see that some of my little squares that I punched out are a little uneven because, you know, my hand slips every now and then, and so they come out a little bit unevenly, but it's supposed to look like a torn edge. So if it's not perfect, that's fine too. Simply what you do is I took a strip of paper, it's left over from the scraps from the pages that I've used, and this one, you can see I started hole punching over it. This piece is 6.5 inches long by 1 inch wide. Now, your length might vary. Your page could be longer than mine. This fits perfectly onto my page here. And so that was the reasoning for my length. I liked the 1 inch width just because it gives it a little bit more of a presence. I don't know that this would be actually what the spine of a little spiral notebook would be, but I'm not really concerned with that. I wanted this for decor, and I wanted to create the torn edge. So what I simply am doing is I have this little hole punch here, and it does punch out a square. Let me see if I can slip this in here, and maybe you can see that square a little bit better. And I got this on Amazon. I did share it in one of my other makes. I think it was the one where I did the tags, but I will share it again. And so all you simply do is I'm just sliding my hole punch up. And in order to make my hole somewhat even, I'm lining the top, this portion of the punch up with the top edge of my piece of paper. And then I'm lining this edge of the punch, up with this edge of the last square that I punched. So let me show you. I'm going to line it up like so, and I'm just going to have to tilt it to make sure that I'm doing it right. And so I've got it lined up at the top and lined up alongside this square. Okay, I had to adjust it a little bit because I dropped it. And I'm just going to punch. And I'm going to go across, and I'm going to do that all the way down the length of the paper. You can see some of them are going to come out uneven, but that's okay. Like I said, it's supposed to look like a torn edge. And so I'm really not too concerned. And so I'm going to go all the way across, hither and yon, and keep making my squares until I reach a point where I can't make another punch, and that's going to be this punch right here. And so you see, you get your little squares. Now the key to making them look like they're torn, I'm taking my tiny little scissor, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a snip on one side, not too close to the edge of the punch, but close enough so it gives the effect. And I'm just going to make a snip on the other side. So you can see that it's not perfect, but it doesn't matter. So once again, I'm going to go in a little bit from the side of the square on one side and do the same on the other. And I'm going to snip, okay? And I'm just going to do that all the way across like so and keep snipping out my little insides here. The one thing I do have to tell you is this is a messy project. And so you're going to be cleaning up little tiny squares, unless you have one of those punches that has the little cover on it. But you are going to be cleaning up these little snips of paper, and they are going to fly everywhere. And thank goodness my cup of coffee, which by now has gone cold, because I am recording this video right after the video that I made where we decorated our signatures, and when I couldn't remember that they were called signatures, and so my coffee has gone cold, and there goes my printer. My husband and I have to really sit down and try and figure out what's wrong with it and why it just keeps randomly printing. And don't be surprised now if it starts to beep, because there's also no paper in it. Okay, so there you go. Now you have your little torn edge. Now, if you want to, you can go in and give little, crisscross snips to make it really look uneven. Okay, and so I did that on those three, and I'm going to skip, 4 of these little edges here. And I may just give a little snip here, and maybe I'll skip the next one and I'll put a little snip there. And so it kind of looks like a real torn edge. And I'll skip those two. Oops, I almost cut my finger. Skip those two, and I'll go to that one. Okay, and I'll skip 2 and go to this one and just cut a little edge off, and I'll do that there. And so now you have an uneven little torn edge that you can add to your signature. Now, because this is kind of plain, at least this part is delicious. It looks like torn paper. I figured I might take this little piece of, paper that looks like a ruler and just kind of lay it down here to give it a little something, something. And so I'm just going to glue that down there. Again, these are attention-getting schemes that when I do this, I want what I've done to be noticed. And so I'll add a little something to it, be it color or, another piece of ephemera, just so that it's seen when people are looking at it. See all those little squares? I'm going to have to push those out of the way. So I'm just going to put a little strip of glue on the back here, like so. And I'm just going to kind of push this over to the edge and sort of just glue it down like so, okay? And then we're going to grab the whole thing up and we are just going to lay it down onto our little cover of our signature. And I'm going to pull it in a little, like so, along the edge. And you know, I'm kind of toying with the idea. Nope, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm just going to glue this down. Now what I'm going to do is I am just going to run glue along here and along this side here and a little bit along here, okay? And I'm going to glue it down like this because even though we're not making this a big fancy tuck, once this is dry, I'm going to show you that you can tuck in a little piece of ephemera if you wanted to. So let me just grab, okay, here, I'm going to grab this little label. And you can still kind of tuck stuff in if you really wanted to do so, okay? You know, if this was a bigger piece of paper and you slid it in under here, it would stay, okay? So yeah, it is still a tuck without being made into a more pronounced tuck. Like, let me just grab this. A little bit of a more pronounced tuck like this one, okay? See, with this one, we do have a little bit more of an area to tuck stuff in, like so. But even so, even just having a little bit, if you just wanted to lay it down, or you could do something like this where I laid the tag down, glued the tag to the paper, and then I glued my little edge on. You could still do something like that as well. Okay, so we have that done. I'm just going to lay this. I'm not going to tuck it into the book because I don't want it to get stuck. Now, if you remember in the last video, I showed you a couple of envelopes that I had created. And as I explained to you, I like the idea of using an envelope. And I also have a collection of little paper bags. I don't know if you have them where you are, but some of the restaurants will wrap your flatware, your knives and forks and spoons, in a little paper bag. And one of them here is Chili's. And I don't know if they still do it. I haven't been to Chili's in a while. Our local Chili's, we were kind of displeased the last time we went there. So yeah, we haven't been to Chili's in a while. Although I do love Chili's. Their food is just very interesting, to say the least. And I do really enjoy it. And every once in a while, I'll convince my husband to take me there. So we'll see. But they give you your silverware in these adorable little paper bags, and they're only about that wide and about as long as a fork. So I have a collection of those because my family knows, don't throw them away. Don't crumple them up. Don't anything. Just hand them to Mama when you sit down at the table. But I haven't, I might add one. I don't know yet. Okay. So what I have here is a large, oversized envelope. It's a, oh goodness gracious, here's my ruler. This envelope is 9.5 inches long by just about 6 inches high. And I don't know what came in here, but I said, I got to save this one. But unfortunately, my husband got to it before I did. And so he ripped it apart. You can see there's a torn edge here. So what I did was, so that it was a little bit more presentable, I guess, I took and I trimmed the top of the envelope off. You can also see that I've glued the flap back down. You can see it was torn here. So I glued the flap down, and then I sliced off a piece of the envelope at the top. But as I was saying, I like to use envelopes in my journals. I don't often do it, even though I save them like crazy, because sometimes I'm just not satisfied with what I do with them. And this is one that I created, and I as I said in the last video, I'm calling this my patchwork envelope, because I started laying strips down to try and cover all of the edges around this little window here. This one doesn't have cellophane, but it is a little window. And I decided, you know what, let's just go for it. And so I took all the little scraps I could find, and I made a patchwork or a patchwork quilt kind of envelope out of that one. And so after I was done with it, I was kind of happy. And so that's what I figured we could do with this one. Now you'll see that I've already laid down a strip of paper, and I am going to tell you I have lined the inside of the envelope on one side with a sheet of the paper from the kit, and because I'm folding it in half, I made two separate sheets of the paper and I cut them to fit. Now the envelope, each side is 4 3/4 wide by 6 inches high. That is the dimensions that I need to cover the envelope in the way that I like. And on the inside, what I did was, so that I had enough room to maneuver, because like I said, envelopes, I love them when they come out, but they're not my favorite thing to play with. I wanted to have enough room from side to side and top to bottom. So the inside sheets are 4.5 by 5.5. I wanted that little bit of play so that when I glued it down on the inside, I had enough room. But I did take a strip. These are two separate envelopes. This is the addressee and the addressor, I guess you call it. This was where my name and address was, and this is who it came from, basically. And I just took a strip of scrap paper that I had laying around, and I just put it across under here because I want to kind of hide these rounded edges on the windows. And so I went and I measured each section by section, and I cut little pieces of paper to cover up those areas. And so this one is again going to be a little patchwork envelope. And so I have cut this piece to be 2 inches by 3 1/4 inches, and that piece is going to go here. Okay, now envelopes are usually not made of the best paper, at least not your standard everyday envelope that, you know, comes in the mail with your bills and whatever in it. If for those of you who still receive your bills in the mail, my husband does a lot of his billing online. I don't like that. I like to have something in my hand. It's sort of like a book. I do enjoy reading on my Kindle every night before I go to sleep, because it lessens the need for turning a light on, especially when my husband is asleep next to me, and it makes it easier in that sense. And I can kind of just shuffle through instead of having to go to the shelf and say, oh, well, you know, what book should I read a little bit of tonight? I have them all at my fingertips in my Kindle. But I do enjoy sitting down and flipping pages. So yeah, I do like the feel of paper. So now when you do this, you're going to have to figure out what you want as your bottom layer and what you want as your top layer. Because there are so many strips involved here, I'm laying down as many of the smaller strips as I can in order to prevent it from looking too wild. I just don't want that one to have that effect. And so I'm going to lay down my strips first. And this particular strip is 1 inch wide because, again, I want to cover the rounded edges of my windows there. So it's 1 inch wide by, what did I say this envelope is? 6 inches high. And so I picked this one, and I'm just going to lay this here along this edge, and I'm going to turn over the envelope and make sure that I am getting it straight. Now you can see, because I trimmed up my envelope, my papers are sticking out at the top. I don't really care about that. I am just going to make sure that I'm not gluing my envelope closed, and I'm not, because I realized that I couldn't salvage this envelope in any way, shape, or form to make it look presentable unless I trimmed it, but I trimmed it after I had already cut out my papers. So yeah, organization is key. And although I may appear to be very organized, it takes me a while to get that way. So you can see I cut out that piece, and that strip is 3/4 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. And so I'm just going to lay that strip across here. And this is all one sheet of paper, or I shouldn't say it's exactly one sheet of paper, because it may be 2. I printed 3, and I ended up chopping them all apart. But it's the same page. It's pieces from the same page. And so I cut it up to fit my needs and to fit this envelope. So I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to do the patchwork on here, and I'm going to add this piece. And again, I'm going to open up the envelope, and I'm going to make sure that it's lined up evenly. Okay, make sure it's even on this side as well, which it's not. Okay, let's try this again. The glue is still wet enough for me to be able to play. Okay, and so there we have that. Okay, and then we're just going to add our last piece, which is also the biggest piece. And this one, as you can see, is 2.5 inches high by 4 3/4 inches wide. And so I'm just going to lay that down there. Now you can see I strategically placed it so that my window in here, okay, is the same as my outside piece that's laying right here. And so, yeah, I just thought it would be kind of cool if we could just make it look like there's nothing there until you tuck something inside of it. Okay, and I am just going to put glue all around the edges on this piece. All right, and then we will flip it over, and we will add our cover for the other side of our envelope. And so I'm just going to line this up here, and I'm going to push it over to the edge here, like so, and it's not going. Today is just not my day. All right, I'm going to line it up with this edge of the envelope, because I want my envelope to fold over nicely, and I want to have room to stitch through here. You can see I'm leaving a gap, and I will ink that up so it won't be so noticeable. But here is one side of our envelope, okay, and this is the other side of our envelope. You can see there's still a little bit of a window there, but I'm not really concerned. I'm going to cover it up, okay, with this piece right here. And let's close that up, and let's get the big mamma jamma. And we're just going to add some glue. Now again, this is, whoops, this is where the envelope is torn up here, okay? Not too concerned, because I'm going to cover it up with this little piece of paper, okay? So I'm going to add some glue, and I swear I must be allergic to my glues. My room is not dusty, because dust makes my nose stuffy. But my nose gets stuffy every time I make a video. I think I'm just allergic to the glue. All right, now I am going to very carefully line this piece up with the edge of the envelope on the top and on the bottom, not the top, the side. And again, I didn't get it just right because as I explained, I want to leave a gap for sewing, okay? And so I think I have enough of a gap, and I have gotten it down. And so, yeah, there we go. That is the outside of our envelope covered. And I may go back and I may decorate this because once I tuck this into my signature, this is going to be the front page. And this looks a little too plain for me. So I'm going to dabble and see what I want to put on there. And then very easily, this is 2 sheets of the same, not the exact same physical paper, but the exact same page. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to glue these down. And I'll do that really quickly. And this way, we can call this a wrap. And try not to make this video as long as the one that we were doing. Well, we were doing a lot of work on that. And so I'm just going to tuck this. I'm going to tuck this. I'm going to glue this down. And again, I'm going to make sure that I have it even and straight on the edges. The glue gives me play, but because this paper that the envelope is made out of is so porous and so very thin, the glue sticks to it really quickly. All right, let's make sure we don't have any problems getting our envelope open. Okay, all right, there we go. We just want to make sure we're good with that. And again, here's the other part of the page. Oh, excuse me, my nose is so stuffy. And are any of you like me? I can't blow my nose. And it's not because of anything, because I know, some people blow their nose and their ears get clogged. I am physically incapable of blowing my nose properly. Yeah, okay. TMI. But just something to think about. I've never been good at blowing my nose. I remember when I was little, my mother would always say, go get a tissue and blow your nose. I never could blow my nose. I just didn't. I was not a successful nose blower. Okay. Yeah. All right. So there we go. We have decorated our envelope. And now what I'm going to do, after I put my... see, I'm a good sniffer. I'm not a good nose blower. Okay, I am just going to itch my nose. And I'm just going to take my little bone folder and I'm going to push everything down. Just to make sure that my envelope is, everything is glued down successfully. Like so. And that my envelope is folded down nice and straight. And that all of these little parts are glued together, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to show you the fun of having the window. All right, I will pull out one of my guest checks, which, as I explained, we are going to decorate. I just haven't decided how or with what. But look how cool that is. That's what I like about having a window envelope in my journal, is having something that you tuck in and you go, oh, that's so pretty. And then you pull it out and you say, oh, wow, that's pretty too. So yeah, so there you go, guys. We have decorated an envelope. We have made, what did I do with it? Oh, we have made our torn edge on our little signature here. And so let's see what our envelope is going to look like once we tuck it into our signature. Okay, I think I might sneeze. So let's find a place to tuck it. Okay, we have our rice paper there, so we don't want to put it there. And do we have 2 sheets? Let's see. I think I kind of like it. This is one of my inked pages that I made. I think I might like it because the colors are kind of similar. I think I'm going to like it. Oh, I am so sorry I moved you. If we just tuck our little envelope in here, like so, into our signature. Okay. And it's going to make some of the pages stick out a little further at first. But once you kind of ease your signature all back together, and once you stitch it, I am very careful to vary the sizes of my papers so that even though some of the papers may stick out further than others, I don't know. I just think because it's a handmade journal and not a production-made book or a handmade book where the edges of the pages all line up perfectly, I kind of like it when my papers are a little bit wacky. Okay, so now we have it tucked into our signature, and here we go, la-di-da-di-da. And we're going to flip through, and we're going to see, wow, what pretty papers. Wow, that one's really interesting. Wow, wow, wow. And that's a really cool envelope. Wow. And then we'll just flip through again. And we have our beautiful center folds. That's another thing I always make sure that my center folds are kind of interesting. And then you go, wow, look at that envelope. And you go, ooh, isn't that cool? Wow, look, there's something tucked in there. I'm just being silly now. Oh, I can't even get it in because the paper's stuck. You have something tucked in there, and you go, wow, look at that. Oh, I wonder what that is. Wow. Okay. So yeah, our window envelopes definitely add the wow effect as far as I'm concerned, and they do add a little bit of interest. I do fuss with them and I do fight with them, but ultimately I do like them. So there we go. Okay, we have done another little activity on our Compendium journal, and I don't know that I'm going to show you guys how I stitch this in, because if it all comes to naught, I'm not going to be happy. But as I said, this is going to be a hidden spine. So my spine's going to go there. And then we have our signatures. And I'm still deciding if I want to add some other papers. But there's our journal. Okay. We still have to do the cover. We'll do that at a later date. I'm going to go now and I'm going to play with one of these guest checks and see what I want to do with it. I have some new stamps and some new stencils. So I might do something with that. I don't know. I have also been looking at a book. Oh, I promised you guys that I was going to show you one of my art journals. Hang on. I'll go and get one and I'll bring it right back. You guys stay right there. Don't move. Okay, I'm back. That also gave me time to try to attempt to blow my nose and sniffle a little. And also try not to sneeze. This is one of my art journals. Now, I make these things just for myself. It was kind of fun. They're made out of old books. I don't even remember what the books are. That's how old they are. And I will usually add a tassel because I like to play with them, okay? And they're fun, and I like the way they feel. And this I added just a strip of some old fabric I had. But what I do... Oh, well, there's the name of the book. And it was withdrawn from the library back in New York. And so what I'll do is I will take and I'll glue a bunch of the papers together, you know, 2 or 3, and then I'll add some plain cardstock onto it. And then I just go in and I'll decorate it. I don't remember where all this stuff is from. Oh gosh, if I can remember, I'll add her. She has great spooky stuff. And this is a Diane Reevely thing. I made the paper dolls. You've seen them before. And here, this is actually a picture that I own that I kind of decorated. And so I'm just going to flip through real quick. I'm not going to show you every single page. This is Louisa Heinzel. This is another, it's the Imaginarium Emporium, something to that effect. And something I drew. And so, yeah, I will just go in and I will do little artwork, something I started but didn't finish. I own this picture as well. And I added some clothes to it. And here's another. I think this is Mike Deacon. And some Tracy Fox. And some of her scrap pockets. And this is stuff that I started. And this is a little thing that I drew. And I just haven't added it to the pages yet. And here's another that's blank. Some more stuff, Louisa Heinzel. And another one of those scary little things. And here's some, I just never glued them down. But yeah, so that is what I might turn. This is a Tim Holtz stencil, and I have no idea where I got these from. This is Ephemera's Vintage Garden. I was using it for, in 2020, Mike Deacon was running a thing. I don't know if you'll be able to find them. I think they were on the Facebook page. And they were called Quarantine Quickies. And so this one was entitled Bricks and Mortar. And so, yeah, here's my bricks and my mortar. And that was what I was doing for here. I think I may have actually printed this stuff out myself. So, yeah, so that is what I think I might do with the journal that we're making now. And here, this is all Mike Deacon and Imaginarium Emporium. I can't remember what it's called. I'll look up the shop. She's on Etsy. And so, yeah, I might do that. I own these photos as well. I don't know if they're on my Etsy. You'd have to go over and look. And just sort of little stuff you can flip here and there. I think this is a Tracy envelope. And Louisa Heinzel again, and flips in and out. And these are Mike Deacon sunflowers. And so, yeah, 2 peas in a pod. I made a quip of, I drew this, 2 peas in a pot. So, yeah, this is something else I need to add. And another scrap of paper. And so this one is, you know, on its way. And this is another one. This one doesn't have a... what do you call it? A tassel added to it. But see, these are some of the pages that I've glued together and I've stenciled on and added butterflies. And these are Tracy's scrappy wallpaper hearts and some stamping and some tape. But this is what I do. I glue book pages together. They get stuck sometimes. And then I will go over them. And these are some other little things that I wanted to add here. This is a Tim Holtz die cut. And this was something fun that Tracy did in 2021. And the kit is still available, and I will show you. They're called Funky Houses. And I don't remember if these were exactly the houses themselves that are in the kit. I think you can go and look on her page. If I can find it, I'll link the kit. And so funky house tags. And so this is all little stuff that I made and I was going to glue into the journal. But yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do in this is I may just tear out some book pages and glue them down 2 pages in here or just doodle. But yeah, I promised you guys I was going to do that. So yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to figure out what I want to do with this guest check. And that may be something we're going to come back and do in the next video. I will probably be filming again tomorrow because I go back to work the day after tomorrow. And the other thing, I have a book on making paper dolls. Using all sorts of bits and pieces, and I may go and I may try doing one of those, and maybe we'll do that. You guys liked the decor, so maybe making paper dolls might be something you want to do too. And they're more art dolls than anything. Okay, well, now you've had a glimpse into my private life. I'm going to send you lots of love, big hugs, and ask you to please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll see. Okay, bye for now. Thanks. Love and hugs. Like, subscribe, comment. Bye.